Hey everyone, so a lot of people still seem to struggle a lot with picking the right lighting color for their house. So in today's video, I'm going to try and explain to you in the best way possible what color lighting fits best for what type of house. And so starting with what is probably the most common type of house, and I call it the white box, even though I don't mean that in a bad way. But to give a quick idea of the situation of what I call the white box house, this is basically a white box house. My table was off-center. Basically, white walls, very light floors, and then very light furniture as well. And then big windows to complement the house. So basically, this is what it looks like without lights. It's kind of dark, but it's okay. It's doable. So you really need to focus on the daylight that you are bringing in. Now, the problem with white box houses is that every color light that you add will change the color of everything inside of your house. So as you can see right now, my lights have a yellow tint, meaning that everything inside of my house will have a yellow tint as well. And this is not what we are trying to achieve with building a very light house. We don't want everything to have a yellow tone to it. So first, my go-to actually for lights in a very light house is flint. Now, flint looks really dark, but once you use it on your lights, it actually becomes very okay. And if you put more lights throughout your house, if you love lights and you want to place lamps everywhere, they don't paint your house as much, or they don't tone your house as much as other lights do. And it's very nice for just subtle lighting, basically. So as you can see, still pretty dark, but we are enhancing it. Going to add a power box to show you the difference. Now, I don't use flint for all of my lights because as you see, it doesn't light up that much, but I will come back to flint in a second. So turning off my electricity, it looks like this. If I turn on my electricity, it looks like this. So it really does complement just basically the daylight that's already coming in. You'll still have some dark corners if you use flint for everything. Now, another thing you can do in lighthouses, not lighthouses, but like white houses, is go right next to flint to hurricane gray. Hurricane gray doesn't really stain your house that much, but you need to be careful with it because if you, let's say, want to place multiple lights next to each other, it can become very, very bright. So don't overdo it with hurricane gray because as you can see, it does give kind of like a pinkish hue to the room, but it's a lot brighter than flint. Now, what most people do in these very light houses, white houses, bright houses, oh my goodness, is use white lighting. Now, this is what happens when you use white lighting in white houses. Everything becomes super bright, even my character, and you can't really see what you are doing. And this is usually what takes off the visible value of your house as well. A good color, if you still want to use very bright lights, is oyster. So oyster is right here underneath all of the grays. And oyster is still bright, but as you can see, it doesn't leave a color stain on the walls and everything. It's still very, very bright and light. If I turn off the electricity, it gets really dark, but if I turn it on, I have a very, very bright house. So for light houses, not lighthouses, I like to combine just oyster and then maybe hurricane gray to just kind of give a little bit of warmth to the house. And then this is what I end up with. If you use flint, it's going to be a lot darker, but it's also going to be more natural. Then there's a big difference between light or white houses like this and then dark type of houses with smaller windows. Everything is a lot darker painted on the inside as well. And it's different for these types of houses. So what you want to do, first of all, is you want to add corner lights, or at least some type of light source in the corner. And for houses like these, you can actually safely use white lights. Just don't overdo them, mix and match. And darker houses usually give you more options to play around with colors if you wish to do so. I like to use beige in darker houses because I think it really adds a lot of warmth to it. So if you go inside, this is what beige looks like. So we have some corner lighting to kind of eliminate the darkness in the room. If I turn off the power, this is what it looks like. If I turn it back on, this is what it looks like. Then if you go back to oyster, as we used before, so oyster is a really good color for making a room a lot brighter. This is what it looks like. So it is a lot lighter. We have some natural light coming in. Actually, I should move the sun a little bit. Let's say 5 p.m. golden hour. It is a bit lighter inside. We still get some light. If you turn off the light, it does look kind of dark. So it gives off a natural type of light. Same thing in this white house right here. Kind of still looking like daylight, even though it is getting dark outside. And if it's fully dark, then this is the difference between the houses. If you use oyster here, and if you use oyster in a very dark house. So importantly, corner lighting is very important if you use darker colors, and you need to use lighter colors as well. Let's say I want to use flint in this house. As I did in the white house, it's just going to be dark, so you won't basically see anything. So flint is really for houses that are already quite light. Let's say I want to change the color of these lights to flint. It's going to be very dark, but it's still going to be brighter than the other house. So this is what flint lighting looks like at night. It's just very subtle. Going into the other room, flint lighting does not work in darker rooms. And yes, you can actually, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but you can safely use institutional white in a darker room. Now, as you can see, it is very bright, so don't overdo it. And then next use case, candles. A lot of people like to place a lot of candles. A lot of people struggle placing a lot of candles and just end up turning them off. So let's say I want to put like 5 candles on this table or something. As you can see, it gives off a very bright color on the chairs. It doesn't look natural at all. For candles, I always end up going to flint. Flint is the safest color for lights to work with. If you paint everything flint, let's put the lights back to that oyster that we had before. As you can see, it doesn't really change the brightness all that much. I mean, the candles are kind of dark a little bit. That's something you have to live with, because if I paint my candles in a natural color, let's say a yellowish color, for example beige, you'll end up with something that looks like this. And it's very bright, still better than I thought it was going to be, so beige kind of works, but it's very, very bright. So it depends really on what you want to do. And then for the darker house, this is the difference between a lit up corner and a dark corner. So really light up your corners if you live in dark houses. Now, I'm not saying place a floor lamp on every single corner, but make some tables with candles on it. Make a table with just a tiny lamp on it or something like that, just to light up your corners a little bit. So a quick overview, my recommendations for light colors, and that's after building a few houses. So I hope my little expertise helps here. But oyster for lighter colors, not institutional white because that gets too bright too fast. Then hurricane gray for a warmer tint. This is hurricane gray. Flint for a place where you use a lot of lights and you don't want them to be super bright. And candles. And then beige for basically just warmer, bright light. Why didn't I mention linen? Because linen is so overused. And if you paint everything linen, it's going to be so warm. It's not even going to be cozy anymore. I feel like linen is so done right now. Sorry, Anix. But this is what happens when you paint everything linen. It's very, very warm. So if you want a warm color, I would suggest going to hurricane gray. It's a little more subtle than linen. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this video helped you. And if you knew all of these already, then let me know what colors you use for your lights in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button and please subscribe.